to know.
What? I thought we were closing the phone. So Judy's coming home.
Hi, Judy.
How about you sit on the end? That help? Oh, you got pants. Did they match your shoes?
I got 50 Shades of Green.
Really?
Like you do.
You like green, don't you? I don't know. I have about 50, but then it's after I went from her yesterday. Yeah. A lot of them I've thrown away. Some of I had a couple pair of nice winter boots that had more very much. But I don't.
Oh,
Try
yeah.
like maybe a Sea Reach Services or something like that. See
You know, I didn't even partake of any of your things while I was down there.
Huh?
Didn't even have a beverage while I was down there to drinking coffee all weekend.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
was.
okay.
Had to keep going.
Are the concession stands going to be open this week too down there, or just
No.
they're done?
We're,
Last night was the last night.
we're done. Whatever.
Had a good crowd last night.
Yes, we did.
That race was really good.
It was a good race. Just they had too many cautions though. They had like 13 cautions.
That's because they're wild and crazy.
Well, that's unusual for World Outlaws.
I wondered. I left about 8.
They've been racing for 3 days, though. They were popped up and wanted to win one.
Yeah, they're fast.
$10,000, that's a good purse.
Okay, call the meeting to order, please. Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Can we have the roll, please? Here.
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 This time, we have public comment.
I have 2 correspondence that had come in through email. The first one is from Donna Williams, and I don't know if it's necessarily directed to the budget committee, but I want to go ahead and share it. Dear council members, the June 23rd, 2020 Tribune Star reported that our Vigo County Clerk is requesting a new election director position for the 2021 budget, but the reason for such is unclear. There is no election scheduled in 2021, and we could elect a new clerk in November. Would a new clerk need such a position? What's more, justification for the significant expenditures by this clerk for consultant services are not clear. How much, for example, would this new position reduce the cost for such consultants? Accordingly, I suggest the council wait until 2022 budget to see if the post is still needed. Thank you. Donna Williams. The second email is from Thomas Tucker. Dear council members, unfortunately, as I understand it, the public is excluded from the annual budget committee meeting, so my input must be by way of this message. I would appreciate it being read at the meeting. My subject is the potential overtaxation via the lit identified recently by Lisa Spence. Lisa has been kind enough to have communicated with me on the subject. First, I applaud Lisa for doing the work to identify this potential excess taxation. It is now most important that the appropriate authority reviews her findings and confirms the amounts that we are dealing with. Assuming, as we should all hope, that she is correct and that excess exists, plans should be made and implemented to reduce future tax collections and to return the excess already taken. Lisa has expressed to me her agreement that we should consider reducing the rate originally passed, but she also thinks that we should allocate some of the excess to good uses. I don't agree that it is a function of government to look around for ways to spend. A mistake was made here and it should be corrected. Sincerely, Thomas B. Tucker.
Council President Morris? May I
Yes.
make a comment about that?
Okay.
I just want to read to you from the email that I sent to Mr. Tucker that he's referring to, which he's referring. What I wrote to him was, first of all, please let me say that in general, I agree with your premise. If we are not going to use these funds for their intended purpose, or if the council overestimated the amounts needed when these taxes were passed, at the very least, we should consider reducing the rates originally passed in these 4 tax funds. I don't think that any one of us would want to think that we were taxing when there's not a purpose. That was my point to him. I went on to express to him a number of ways that I think we could usefully deploy these funds, and that's the exchange he was referring to. That was from an email on June 28th. Thank you.
Okay. Sure.
What did the council intend to use their 0.4% for? That you raised? We asked for the tax to build the jail. That goes away when the jail's built. The council added 0.20 to that. So we know that what we raise is to go towards paying the jail.
Hey, Judy, I think that's one of the reasons that I wanted the commissioners to come in. So we finish with the communications, and then because this is some of the things that I wanted to get the commissioners' feelings on these things, see where we were going. Okay. All right. Any other communications from elected officials? Okay, having none. Okay, now, finish up, Judy. Thanks.
Nope, that was it. I just wanted to know what was the purpose of your 0.20 that you raised. I mean, was that, did you have a purpose of that? I mean, I know that ours goes strictly to building the jail.
Well, I think that,
I mean, it's a public safety tax.
right, it's a public safety tax, that's the first thing. And amongst the council, there's been some discussion on the utilization of that. I think that, from what I'm understanding, is it's been successful in raising revenue. Some of those costs haven't been incurred yet. Certainly one of them is we do not know the cost of the operation of the jail, and some of that money, I believe, was spent on additional security officers at the current facility, too. So it's not just sitting around somewhere. I don't know that it was a fine line we treaded on that, but we did. As you remember, we spent some of that right there immediately, almost as soon as we passed it, didn't we? For security officers at the jail.
I don't know, how you pay for those?
Those are out of the general fund.
Mr. President?
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to say, Judy, I've had my eye on the 911 folks. They're working in miserable circumstances over there. That facility is going to have to be, and I will apply to doing something about it You know, I go over to the jail, you know, kind of on a regular basis to watch it kind of fall down in hopes that we can get people out of there, you know, in time before it does completely cave in. But the 911 facility is, it's in bad shape.
We're well aware of that.
And that's, you know, that's something that I hope that we can use some of that money for. I don't know that we've actually, you know, taken the first giant step to figure out what we're going to do.
Mr. President, that was the plan when the new jail was constructed. 911 will be moved upstairs, you know, into probably where the sheriff's office is now, shutting down the rest of the jail and using it for storage or any other square footage we have use for it. Selling the building on 13th Street, we put so much money into moving all the election stuff from that other building that's over there. It's not good. We just had to put a roof on it. But that was the whole idea, is to get everything onto that quadrant there. Storage, files, 911 improvement, and all that.
Right. And I think it's going to take some money to do that, and usually it takes more than we ever figured. And, you know, in the meantime, I mean, we're going to have to do some, you know, clean up, fix up, and so on. I know they got bad leaks down there, right? You know, last time I was over there, and it's pretty dilapidated. And so, you know, that's something that I hope, you know, we can do to get them out there. And, you know, tearing that building down is not going to be cheap.
Turn down,
The rest of the, we're not going to leave that whole thing standing up there, are we? The whole facility? Are we going to tear some of it down? I'd hate to heat and
I don't
cool
know.
and whatever.
not that I,
No,
Golly. Well,
once you move prisoners out of there, the heat, water, everything will be shut off there to the upstairs, all that stuff for storage.
be very minimal need for
Necessary.
storage and those kind of things, so it wouldn't. I mean, it's, when you look at where they're at now in comparison, I don't know why you would tear down a building like that and utilize a building down on South 13th if you've ever been in there.
And everyone should go down and look at that building, the
Yeah.
storage building in the election place. Restore stuff.
well, it'll take some
We're
maintenance. I mean,
storing-
it'll take money to maintain,
Right, we're
you know,
storing,
storage wherever it is, so. you know.
equipment and stuff that is delicate in places. Really not great for that. It's better now because we did put a new roof on that, had some work done on the other building. It's way overcrowded. Everybody should go down. I would tell everybody on the council to go down and look at those buildings. And for going to get records, sending people over there to get records and that stuff. They can walk right across the court scan.
So, commissioners, do you have any? We've gotten a lot of correspondence from state agencies, et cetera. Do you have any feel for revenue flows or priorities for your projects or that kind of thing?
Well, as far as projections, that's pretty much impossible. You know, they're talking September to show projection. And of course, with the COVID, you know, our reimbursements, hopefully we'll be able to reimburse some of that cost. But as far as collection of taxes, they were talking anywhere from 20–25% of the gas tax, fuel tax be down for the highway departments. Local road and street will probably be down. But as far as the projections with what they're telling us, they're talking anywhere from 20–40% in cost.
With that being said, we're very, very conservative in our budget because of that situation. We try to be.
Well, I haven't reviewed your budget. I don't know of any of us yet. I just want to get started to see if we were on somewhat the same page with the revenue projections, that kind of thing.
And we know the delays in timing for the jails cost a lot of money. The differences, bidding, bidding, and cost of doing business, cost of parts, being able to get parts. Everything's really slowed down on that. And hopefully we'll stay on schedule with that, but we know that getting some parts is kind of impossible, and you probably find that in your business, don't you?
Pretty hard, yeah. Pretty
You
tough.
go there, the shelves are empty, but going, hey, I need a starter, I need something. And, you know, you just go to Lowe's and you go to all these places and there's empty shelves because they can't get them. You can't get lumber. You can't get all these things. So we
Far
know,
as
and there's no.
timing's concerned for state certified projections, we'll be getting those through August. And they've told us they will finally certify income tax revenues September 15th.
So you really have a very difficult time to do a budget, not knowing what projections are going to be.
You're not, I think we traditionally have scheduled final passage of the budget the 1st of September, but that's just not going to happen this year. It's going to be in October.
And they're fine with that.
Well, October 31st is the state, is the deadline.
The DLGF had sent out a letter stating that we should estimate our lit amounts at 90% of last year's totals. So,
That's what they're asking us to use for when we meet them.
right, and which would be the same what we use for our projections
Yeah, you
for the
can go
budget.
ahead.
That's what they're asking us to
Use
use.
it, but I mean,
So that they have something
Right,
whenever
but
we meet
I'm,
them.
I understand that they're not certifying that as an amount. That's just a suggestion on what you can use so that you can start your budget process and have somewhere to work off of.
Yes.
This meeting, is the purpose of it more just to have a pre-budget discussion? Is that
Yeah,
what we're
I
doing?
just,
We're not talking about anything in particular. We're just
no, I
brainstorming
have not
before. Is that
reviewed
right?
your commissioner's budget and what have you.
Okay.
I guess I want to start this by, getting this information out here from the auditor.
Sure.
Going over the things we've seen from the state, trying to get your input.
Sure.
You guys are on the ground floor of a lot of these things. It seems like, the projections, at some point, commissioners the council are going to have to come up and make some decisions, and I'm just trying to figure out what we can try to base some kind of intelligent decision on.
Well, I'd like to share that when we sat down, we were originally forecasting for about a 30% reduction. And then Calissa gave us some good information that looked towards 15%. But when we originally sat down, we recognized what our projects are. The ones that Vicki noted, Vicki's concern is not new. That's been a concern for several years. And to touch on that, we have made drastic changes down there other than move them out. I've looked at an alternative. It didn't work due to a system with the fire department that we could not operate in our remote facility. There are no water leaks in 911. They are in the basement, but they're not in 911. We've improved lighting. We've improved the infrastructure in the last 2 months. And there will be ongoing improvements. But we sat down and we looked at what our future needs are. We looked at roads. We looked at equipment. And all of you were invited. Most of you attended. Actually, I think all of you attended the walk around we had at the county highway garage to show, what kind of issues we had with equipment. And that was an eye opener. So we've been unique with your partnership in figuring out how we can replace equipment for safety's sake for the employees and for the infrastructure for our community. we continue to look at alternative ways to finance those purchases with consideration that we're going to have a budget shortfall. But what we presented so far was a very conservative approach. We did ask for some salary increases. Those salary increases actually result in potential cost savings because we can keep talent, not that there's a threat of them leaving if the salary increases don't come. But our own internal employees are able to do things that we pay consultants to do. So we looked at that as where you're going to see an increase ask for certain salaries, but there could be additional cost savings that are realized from that because we can eliminate or greatly reduce what we're paying for consultants. So the commissioners did work pretty hard with many people in this room, Cheryl being one of them, and Calissa, to figure out what we could do to be accurate to ensure that we're giving you a good budget to work with so you don't have to spend a whole lot of time on it. There's a lot more that we would like to have, but we know this is not the time to ask for that. Something that Brad and Judy and I discussed this morning was the amount of roads we're paving this year. Brad shared a number with me that really put things in perspective. We're going to pave approximately 67 miles of road in Vigo County this year. We're behind on paving, just like we're behind on everything right now. We will probably be doing no chip and seal roads because of, well, we don't have the manpower resources to do it. But we're doubling our mileage this year compared to the average of 30 that we do. We're probably not going to see that next year. But we're relying on community crossings funding. We just discussed it that motor vehicle highway funds are probably going to be drastically reduced. So it's probably good that we're knocking out what we can. And that's because of the foresight of all of us in this room last year, that we were able to prepare for it. The fiscal conservativeness and stewardness of the council gave us a nice buffer that we're operating from right now. But you know, 2021 is going to be drastically different. And I'm confident that we presented a fair budget with those considerations. So again, if we're just having a roundtable discussion, I just, you know, want to take the opportunity to share those thoughts.
I think on our budget, what was less than last year's, the utilities all take about a 15% increase. We were able to actually reduce our budget. We paid some things off, and but yeah, so it makes our budget a little bit lower than last year.
Brad, how did your consolidation of the department, like into the area plan and moving that stuff around, how's that going?
Well, I think it's doing well. The GIS and, you know, with Larry taking over the highway department, there's a savings there. But, you know, without him, we couldn't have got our grants. He did a tremendous job getting those things done on time. So we were blessed with that. But I think the GIS will be very important. But it's going to take 2 to 3 years to get everything put down in that position. You know, it's just a learning thing for us too. But I think the consolidation will save us money.
Yeah, he seems pretty whiz bang. I mean, he really knows his stuff.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we've got a jump start because of who we have been able to
That was a good lick to get
employ
him.
in there.
And we got another gentleman from the city also that's taking over.
I think the mayor's going to start shooting across this. Yeah. Is he going to have enough room to operate out of here, though, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. We looked at the printers, you know, and of course, one of the person in plat mapping, a lot of time plat mapping too, from the guidance. So back and forth, supposed to have his desk in today, they say, so he'll have to be in that office also. But he actually spends quite a bit of time in plat.
I'm good. I'm just absorbing, learning. This is my first year on here, so just trying to understand.
So we got 67 miles of road this year, huh?
Pretty close to that, yeah.
That's huge.
It
It's
is.
big.
We've never been able to pay that much. Most of the commissioners may get 10 miles a year paid, a lot more with chip and seal, but felt like this year with community crossings, $1 million that they gave us, $1 million that the council gave us to back, a lot of pavement. Then you got better roads, and they last a lot longer.
Which commissioner got more roads paved? Judy? I hope so.
That was last year for sure. You want to know which one got the least? But how do you like the parking lot to the annex?
No, we actually worked together on that. I mean, Brendan gave up some money too to.
Well, we did an approach though,
Yeah.
because we looked at were the main roads, and Chris thinks he's getting a kick out of this right now. But what we did was Dallas Drive, for example, which is actually East Dallas Drive. It's West Dallas for like 4 feet, and then the rest of it's all East Dallas Drive, which makes no sense. But it's in both of our districts, so we just knocked out the same section from
appreciate that.
east to west. Yeah, Cliff
Very
really
nice.
appreciates it. But no, what we've worked on this last year was a collective approach, not whose district gets what, is what needs to be taken care of the most. Judy's area, her roads, it's really interesting because the soils are drastically different from the west side to the east side. Where I live, we learned that they use fly ash as a base for roads, byproduct from the power plants. Well, that's washed out. Whereas over on the west side, that wasn't used as much. So the reason why the roads crumble on the east side, thank you, is so much better or so much different than what it is on the west side. So with having Larry Robbins in there and being able to articulate to us what the needs are, it's made a huge difference on investing the money the right way versus just figuring out who gets what. But no, we did a proactive approach to make sure that we are investing our dollars appropriately throughout the whole county. And Brad and I are working on something too, a big east to west road. What do we say and to get everybody excited? What was that? I always forget the names of the roads down south.
Well, I think we're going to do some more work on Oregon Church.
That would be, and so it splits in.
Yeah. Part
So,
of it from 41 to, it's like,
but recognizing that we're going to have a funding shortfall for next year, we're still going to ask the state for what we planned without that, because that's community crossings money. So hopefully we can still get that. But I think roads countywide are really in good shape. Always can make improvements.
Is there going to be any interruption in the community crossings?
Possibly.
We have not heard that, if there is. Association of Counties questioned that last month, and the answer we got was that they saw they did not see that happening yet. So that's all I know. I mean, it's not a positive thing, but.
And the small communities with their participation stay about the same, and ours will stay the same at 50-50. Utilities went up, what, 14% on the electric?
yeah, they asked for 15%. So like I said, almost all the utilities asked for.
All of them.
We average about $11,000 a month with a jail.
I knew that.
Like to bring that up every chance I get. Actually, I think it's $10,800 a month, almost to the T. But
for
yeah,
all or for?
no, just for the jail.
Just for the
Jail only. Water and sewer.
Sewer.
Sewer and water.
sewer and water.
What about electric?
I
Any
never
idea?
looked at that.
Electric's not, it's not unusual.
Yeah.
This water and sewer thing, though, is just,
But they are taking a
Outrageous.
14% increase, 50%. They're asking.
So an additional month's bill when you get down to it. Yeah, that electricity one slid right through. I remember we went to, was it South High School, where they had the hearing, and well, I thought we really left there with a slight victory. No. No.
They reduced it, what, 1.5% or something for their
Well, that was nice of
COVID
them.
retrieval, yeah.
That's nice of them.
Yeah.
I don't see how people do it, especially now.
They don't.
You're right, they don't. And it impacts us all. We have what are we at now, Jim? 850 properties in the tax sale for the fall? Parcels. Almost 900 parcels.
Most of them are repeat, but just keep recycling.
Yeah, it doesn't help.
Interesting to see, go through it and see how many first time are in there as opposed to previous years.
Oh, because there could be new first timers.
Yeah, but so much of that tax sale is just recycled every year.
You know, the common saying now is we're all in this together, and that's becoming more and more apparent as days go on. But, yeah, as rates and stuff go up, it doesn't help any of us.
Are you seeing any particular problem areas?
Well, I think a good
Community
indicator,
holes just hurting, or
when we did the
different
food
parts of it.
distribution, that was an eye-opener. When you go to the outlying areas of the county and, Fountainette, for example, we did a food distribution for the school corporation up there because a lot of the people up there didn't know where to get food. And they didn't know that because they don't have the infrastructure that we enjoy where most of us live. Broadband's an issue, but no internet's a bigger issue. Cell phone service. I use AT&T, and I have no cell phone service up in Fountainette. If I was a resident up there, I wouldn't have them. But a lot of these rural areas in our community are underserved. I know there's a push through COVID to get funding for broadband in rural areas so that students can have access if they have to, do school from home. That's something that the commissioners have an opportunity to support. But yeah, the outlying areas are underserved right now. If that's what you're asking.
That's statewide too.
It is statewide, yeah. But looking at Vigo County, we have areas that need help. The roads are good out there, I'll tell you that. But
Park County just got their broadband
good.
done and taken care of. Jim Neeson, I thought it just made a world of it.
It's good.
what did we wind up with the ransomware? Did we ever come up with the cost of that
Over $500,000.
to us?
Tammy, have any idea?
I mean, I was wondering what the insurance didn't cover.
Well, they covered most of it, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we haven't got all that into it.
Ooh, that's nice.
Well, I thought there was some that they weren't going to pay for.
That's why we're still in this, that's the courthouse,
The HVAC components.
the
Yeah.
HVAC.
The HVAC system died because it destroyed the computers that ran it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So
that's hardware.
In our opinion, it's tied to it.
We had to rewire the whole courthouse,
HVAC.
HVAC side, because everything in there was 2-wire. Now everything you buy is 3-wire. So going through and running all new wiring through the courthouse, control all the vents, air handlers, all that. It is a problem because ours worked, but once we couldn't use it anymore, we had that. Like Tammy said, they questioned that a little bit. Did we really need to do that? So, but it's obvious in the years since we remodeled, we did all that. How many years?
Oh, my goodness.
18,
Yeah, really.
15, 18 years. So things have changed. Nobody ever would see that.
So
Well,
what
actually
did that
20.
cost? What did that cost?
Oh, I don't have any idea.
Just the HVAC.
The heating and cooling system wouldn't work, Vicki.
I
It was
understand
locked.
that. I understand
What
that.
it
What did it
cost.
cost?
Oh, cost. I think so. What
We're
it
talking
cost.
probably over 300,000. Just do that.
We have scraped money here, there, and yon.
Yeah. Because they're still there doing.
How much has Tommy got in his building repair budget right now? About $4,000 to last the rest of the year? Because we've paid so much out of it. These companies, they can't go without their money, and the
No.
insurance company's fighting us.
We robbed about everything we
Yeah.
can do to keep this small company doing. And
Well, you can't blame them.
No. That's the reason we've done this. You know, we put Tommy in a real tight spot here.
That's why he's
I'm sure he's
walking
gonna have to
around,
come to
you know,
you
and
for
freaked out
the
all the
additional
time.
appropriation, but get through the year.
We're actually gonna change insurance companies, because that one, we've seen it all. Seen that commercial.
Yeah,
They ain't seen nothing.
yeah, they have not seen it all, believe me. But you'll be in the commercial, the next commercial they do.
You know, one of the things with the courthouse too, council members, that we did not foresee was that we need to hire, if feasible, more custodians. We're operating thin the way it is, but now the courts want the courtrooms cleaned after every court session. We know that that's not
Well, what are
doable.
the judges doing?
Judging.
Feel free to address that.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can believe I will.
I don't
You
think
know
I'm
I
going to
will.
approach that. But, you know, there is an increased need for additional manpower related to COVID. So, you know, that's something as we look at the budget in these next few months, just to kind of be aware of.
One thing, let me just say, I did have a conversation with judges last week, and they're talking about, you know, needing to clean the chairs after somebody sits down, somebody gets up, you know, and they have cloth chairs, or they have chairs that they can't use cleaning solvent on.
Right.
And they're trying to figure out they may have to buy new furniture. So those are considerations that they're dealing with.
Their plan that they submitted to the state was phenomenal. I mean, the detail that they put in that plan was really something to be noted. They did a great job,
Did they think about how they're going to pay for it?
except for that part.
They didn't,
Right,
I knew
right.
they wouldn't think of that part.
Wow,
So $24,000 a month, basically.
for utilities. It's air conditioning.
Yeah, he might be cheaper than air.
I think that's what mine was at home.
What's our date that we're looking at for conversion to a new facility? We know,
March 22.
yeah,
That's changed.
March 22 was the last report that we
Yeah.
got.
I think you're right. And right now, they're starting to move along pretty well.
They got walls up.
Walls up,
Yeah.
foundations in. So it's getting, if they seem to think we're still being good. If you get the parts and work, problem is there's so much work going on right now everywhere. Hard to get people.
We should get another report the 1st of August, I think. That quarterly report was in May. I think it was May 2nd.
Yeah. got
So
one
we should
coming.
have a report the next couple of weeks, probably, on the quarter.
We had put down in bed, Brendan, and Mr. Peterson, a few weeks ago.
Couple weeks.
And, things seem going pretty good. They asked some questions. We've had to deal with the sheriff yet. Of course, he has to be involved in a lot of it. So, but most of it was the communication stuff. Need to get, decide who going for Indiana.
Fiber.
Fiber, the info right there, points out front, Boston problem after the see. And they're on the Indiana file now, it's going to be Joe. So program. The outcome, very classic. So,
I'll share that in that meeting, it was obvious that they are watching costs. They're making sure to stay within where we all expect them to be. And it is amazing how fast, how efficient they're building that. And of course, we'll see, 10 years after the place is open as to whether the quality was there. But as a person that was highly critical of it, I'm pretty impressed with with how it's going right now.
Yeah, every time they meet with us, they bring us cost-cutting things.
They're doing it on their own.
They want us to come.
So do we.
They brought us some ideas we didn't even think of. Very beginning. So they're building and they're working with the other construction. They're giving.
And we do have access. We have access to their managerial system, so I can log in and find out where they are. If there's any kind of red flags or whatever, it'll say in there. So we have all the access we could possibly need. Admittedly, I don't go on there that often, but the resources are there for us. And if any of you would want to see them, you definitely can. You can see what we're paying, what we have paid, anything related to the project. It's in this one app that we all use.
Very up.
$2.2 million.
I was gonna say, is there another big draw from any of that, or soon, or month?
But it run, hang on. And they have,
Cool.
We've only had one billing issue this whole time where they sent the bill to the jail.
You know where I got that to today?
Yeah.
They sent through
Yeah.
all those were on that, the ones that run
So they already had it, yeah. Which we thought was kind of funny, but
because I got another one that's credit from jail.
okay.
It's being sent to.
So the check is in the mail. Okay.
If I may ask, given some of the problems, you made a point, I think, Brendan, given some of the problems that came to light in just the construction standards on the current jail after it was built, is it Garmong that is the quality assurance entity for those kinds of issues, or who is looking over the project to make sure that those same kinds of quality effectiveness issues don't occur
Well, of course,
in this
DLZ
construction?
with the design,
Sure.
they're the ones that have the standard.
Right.
Darmong right now is building 7 jails, managing 7 jails right now themselves. They are the ones that are, we say at risk, but not at risk, but they're the ones that have to make sure that standards are met.
Okay, so they would be ensuring that the specification documents, that DLZ, that those materials are the ones that are being used, the execution is the way it should be working. So it's really Garmong looking to make sure that DLZ's plan is executed
There are
in the
construction
proper
management,
way. Right, okay.
basically.
Okay.
they actually couldn't change any of that without
No,
a
and,
change order that would come to us before it's ever
no,
done.
and DLZ, they're here, they come on site every so often to meet with Garmong. In fact, Rats was here that day before or something like that, but we met with them. So DLZ is still involved after the design. They're still we're construction manager.
So they've got some visibility into how things are
Yes.
being executed as well. Okay, thank you.
Lisa, have you had a chance to go out there?
No, I've driven by, I guess but it was probably April.
If you want to go out there someday, I'll gladly take you.
You better
Okay.
have a truck. It's rough.
Yeah.
Getting back
Yeah,
here.
we just kind of drove all the way
Yeah.
around and peered at it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, it's rough. That was one of the problems we had is we put the road in, got 3 or 4 inches of rain in the next 2 days, and really hurt that road base and stuff. Had to go in and do a lot of things to keep we could get in there. We had trucks stuck back there. It was kind of a pain. That stuff you can't foresee.
I guess my only question is, you guys have all had experience in this for years. As with COVID-19 happening now and continuing on, when departments come for new hires or salary increases and things like that. Any opinions or?
Well, it's always tough on the budget committee, very tough for the full council and for the auditor's office. Got to work with these guys a lot, you know, to know what's going on. Of course, you got an administrator too. The chief has a lot of information. I don't know how much COVID's going to affect the future. I'm sure it will, until we find a cure or something to help with that. It's obvious we're going to be buying masks, cleaning supplies, the max, and labor too. I mean, that's the whole thing. Right now, we're working our cleaning staffs, you know, especially at the courthouse,
Right.
because of the demand, and they're having a lot more people come and going, and we're actually shorthanded there. It's hired somebody, they start week tomorrow to replace somebody that left. Yeah. So they've been shorthanded. The highway department, we're having our people here go down to the highway departments too, get more cleaning in there. Yeah. So we're spread pretty thin in custodial side.
And I intend to ask, Jim, do you know if on the CARES Act, I intend to call with something, but talking about this shortage in the custodial staff, will they not reimburse us if we were to hire temporary cleaning things? I thought we could.
It falls in there.
Yeah. That's what I thought. So if we could hire during this time extra people for that.
For people or service,
Pardon me?
suppose you could hire some service, like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you could do a service
Yeah.
for someone like that, come in and help, and that would be reimbursed. You'd have to pay for it,
Sure.
but then it would be reimbursed out of that 3.8.
Pay and pray. Pay and pray that he gets paid
Yeah.
for it.
Councilman Spicer, ask your question again.
Uh,
What he asked, because I'm not sure.
initially,
Yeah, I mean about.
just your opinion of what you feel like the right way to go about the next year is with new hires or salary increases.
I mean, should you do it?
Basically, yes and no.
I think you should, because we need to work at balancing our salaries countywide. I think what has been asked for by the commissioners, by other department heads, helps with that balance, but we need to get to a point. There are cost savings measures if we need to employ them out there. I don't think taking them from people is the right way to do it. But we do need to get pay up to where it is what we consider market value in this area. One of the things that we bring up when we have our own internal discussions is our benefits. Our benefits here are very generous. Insurance, we had a lunchtime conversation about how good our insurance is. County employees have excellent health insurance if they're on the program. They have a lot of time off. Their work week hours are less than what's in the market. So when you talk about your market pay, those are factors that fall into it.
Sure.
You know, you've probably heard this. You're in business yourself. Sorry. You know that you can give a person a 10-cent an hour raise or $1 an hour benefit. What are they going to be more excited about? That 10-cent raise until they need that benefit, and then they see the value. So a lot of people that don't use those benefits don't see that value. But I think this is a good time to adjust those salaries where they need to be, recognizing that we may need to make adjustments in 21, 22, but look at how we can do it without taking out of an employee's pocket.
I think one time about all the benefits and how much it was.
Total
It's been years
compensation.
ago we did that, a total compensation package.
Sure.
You've got someone sitting here at the desk and okay, here's my salary. So when you give them the whole picture, the whole benefit, it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. Like I said, Jimmy did that years ago had the same conversation, which you always have with salaries and whatnot, but it is amazing.
I don't think it's a time to overspend by any means, but try to keep things going, you know, as much as possible from what we have right now. You know, like I said earlier, we throttled down on what we'd like to see being done in 2021, recognizing that we need to be more conservative. And we owe that to the taxpayers of the county.
Sure.
But I'd say with salaries, that's probably our best investment right now.
Keeping people.
Keeping people.
Be good.
We are at risk of losing. We've had a couple positions that directly report to the commissioners where the employees are staying because they like working here, I guess is the best way for me to say that. They've had other entities, other government entities approach them about working for them. Although I guess the city can kind of say that about us right now too, Brad and Judy, since we've had several city employees come over. But that's not because they're unhappy by any means. It's just opportunities. But as opportunities arise, you know, we can't offer somebody an extra $5,000 to stay. It's government. You can't do that. Your salaries are set. But if they're where they need to be, so they're not attractive to, you know, have them go somewhere else, that helps us. You know, we've had some challenges recently filling a couple positions, just time-wise. You know, as you know, if you have an employee leave, you have a lot of costs involved in hiring the replacement. You have training. You lose that historical knowledge that the prior employee had. And we operate so thin right now, we can't risk that. So retaining our employees is a good investment.
Council President Morris,
Questions, yeah.
I'm going to have to leave in a few minutes, but I just wanted to put a plug in for some work. And I think you all have seen at least one email on this that Calissa has done to look at putting sort of our cash flow view into a spreadsheet that we could use to do that you all could use to start with, to do some projections, you know, kind of some what if. What if we lose 10% local income tax? What if we lose X percent property tax, and what that would do to the various and sundry funds? I think, you know, looking at that just to kind of get some sort of left and right boundaries of starting with what we had last year, you know, not anticipating any increases, but taking it down at some levels that perhaps you all feel comfortable with, just to see what that looks like in comparison to the requests that are made this year. I think that could be very helpful to us as a council, as departments come in to kind of evaluate where things are going and what those choices need to be as departments make their proposals.
Have you all seen that?
Yep.
We got it.
Okay.
I have a quick
Yeah.
question. Since we were talking about the COVID-19 and expenses, do you have a fund where you're looking at reimbursements, or you have the opportunity to be reimbursed? Have you are setting that up in its own fund, or are they coming out of the general fund? Is there somewhere where you want these in one location? Because we have requests from the courts and, you know, the clerk and, you know, multiple places where they're saying, due to COVID, we need this, this, and this. But I mean, is there anything set up where you put it in its own fund? You want everything directed into one fund?
Hey, Jim, we can't hear you at all.
Well, in the beginning, three of us and Michael, I think, discussed about they would pay for these things out of their existing appropriations, and they would be coded for COVID. And I guess that's the same method you used when you had the big flood.
So when it does come, the reimbursement comes in though,
It'll go back to the fund that
that
paid
came
it.
out of,
Mhm.
that was our biggest
that what-
question.
And-
was like,
and I
Yeah, I
believe
just, I
under
didn't know
the-
if we needed to
And under the,
change directions
under the
on what the
executive
request
orders, I
may
believe we've got
I didn't know if there's
permission
something
to
that worked out better.
overdraw funds.
We had a guy,
No, that's what I was kind of wanting to talk to
we
you.
met Jimmy and Mike, talked about that. No discussion as, back to Allen County General, or is it gonna be a fund, go fund?
From the state.
Right now, most people are coding them. We're doing our best to keep that. We'll be able to pull something. Julian spent the whole time during payroll trying to code payroll, which was a nightmare. However, there's some recent information and discussions I've had that we may take and adjust those appropriations to one fund, a COVID fund. But that is in the middle of a discussion that I've tried to have while I'm doing other stuff in the last week or two with the state. It kind of came out with that about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, threw something out about using a COVID-19 fund. So
then we would have to take the request from you for that reimbursement into our funds, or would we have to come back to the council for a new appropriation back into our fund?
basically what they're saying is to make your expenses out of that. And when you get your reimbursement from the CARES Act, you just make that fund.
Put it back into our fund.
No, you put it back into that COVID fund. So
It'd
you've
be
got a rolling
basically
time of
running-
knowing,
You're running it negative, and then
yes,
when they
what you have
reimburse,
spent.
you should zero out.
Yes.
But we're spending.
If we move it, we will move your expenses so it won't be showing in your fund. That is a discussion that we're getting ready to have because this is some guidance that came out most recently in the last week or two, but
What-
right now, it's being tracked by being marked as COVID if the department head is marking it. And claims have been going through them and they've been trying to catch them. If they didn't mark it prior to putting it in so that they can mark it as an expense.
All departments have been remind them, sure, code everything.
Oh, they're doing it.
We have
Right.
sent a couple of emails, but we've sent a couple of emails reminding people to make sure that they're marking them.
Well, any more? Appreciate everybody's comments on these things, because that's what I wanted to talk about. Seems like one thing's certain, we don't know, except there is a reduction in revenues. We don't know how much. I really want to thank everybody for their comments. So we've got consensus that revenues will be down. That the estimates from the state will be in September, the earliest. Is that right?
August.
Late August.
Certified numbers. And we're all in this together.
Their estimate, September 15th, finals won't come till October.
September.
Yes, got it in
So-
the bulletin. They're giving us guidance as using a formula, but their estimate won't come until September 15th under the new thing. Finals come in October. For local income tax.
And I think the state is doing quite a bit. Pretty impressed. From starting out with our grant monies, to even trying to do that. I think the state is trying to help us. It's all brand new to them too. They have to have so much money to get. Of course, the federal government's going to be helping them. So it's all just gets in line.
All your commissioners are here. I did want to mention last week I had, I guess, 3 people ask me if the county was going to implement a mask requirement. I suggested Herman Munster, but they wouldn't go for it, for the mask.
Had that discussion,
Did you?
at
You can take this one if you want it. September
Public health
15th.
department.
Well, actually, in other places, you know, the highest elected officials are doing it now.
we
22
also
is based
discussed
on
that,
10.
the fact that the mayor of Indianapolis is
And
the one that
Evansville.
had mandated theirs, so.
So,
Quite honestly.
anyway, I just put the bug in your ear. I don't know.
They're Unigov, so
Well, there
it
you
would
go.
be the one.
Now, Evansville, he
I didn't know
just
Evansville did, Monroe County.
Vanderburg, so. Anyway, we sure don't want it to get away from us. Boy, it's bad, huh?
We're good on supplies right now.
That's a good thing.
So that Clorox wipes, we can't get any.
Nobody can. Those, we had 9, yesterday, 9.
Through a local supplier, Vicky, last week, we were able to negotiate a much lower rate than what we were paying. We were paying a lower rate than what the market was bringing in this area,
Now you get
but we were able to get it considerably less, where we were able to buy twice as many masks for the same dollar. So that's made a big difference. What we would like to do is continue to encourage employees to wear their own mask, recognizing that we have the disposable mask available, but the intent now is more for visitors when they do come in to ensure that they are, people are covered when they come in, because we're not letting them in without them being
I
covered.
want to say Commissioner Kearns beat them down.
Yeah,
He was pretty rough on them.
I was. That's just our employees, not the public. No, but it is. It's tough. What we tried to do is keep a surplus for the courts, because the courts are ramping back up. And, when you're doing jury selection right now, that's a lot of people.
I got called for jury duty.
You did too?
Yeah.
I did too.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, we're on the same one.
The 20th, but I'm gone, so
Oh.
I don't know how that's going to work
That's
out.
right, 'cause
So
you'll be
you have when you
gone
get
on
back.
the-
Yeah, I'll be gone on Monday. Yes, I'm going to hedge my bet.
What? How are you paying for the masks right now, or all those supplies? What fund?
We're
Office supplies, out of the commissioner's office.
Are you coding?
Yeah, we are making sure that we are coding it appropriately. Yes. Yeah, but I think we've easily spent $10,000 on masks. Does that sound about right?
Yeah,
Close
I royally
between that
got.
and hand sanitizer.
I got taken so bad on hand sanitizer and masks
In
from
the
my
beginning?
employees. Yeah, I mean it's just. I
Well,
still
you
feel
guys
it.
use N95 masks anyway,
most of the time,
right?
but try to buy them when all that happened, they were gone.
Right. Well, now, if you shop around or talk to your supplier, prices are coming. I mean, they're going to sell them as much as they possibly can, or for as much as they can. We have a good neighbor. Yeah, but we are buying local. They're obviously not made here, but we buy all the county stuff has been purchased local. The hand sanitizer came from a distillery in Bloomington, Indiana. Yeah, we've been keeping everything as close as possible.
90 proof.
And everybody's
Been
so
drinking it,
happy.
I got to keep reminding myself we are on YouTube right now. I can't say what I want to say. That's what it is.
Is that what it is? Really?
A gallon of what?
This can go in so many different directions.
Take the paint off the table. Oh my God. And he's been so happy.
We have been pursuing grants too for supplies. Those haven't worked out, but we have been pursuing them. And our EMA department has been doing a good job distributing to agencies within the county. So, a lot of resources out there.
You guys have been helpful
What's everybody's
today.
thoughts on the mask? Sorry, mask.
I'm for it. I mean, if we can get rid of this stuff, right on,
You mean requiring them within our building, Judy, or outside of?
in the county. I'm telling you, people in this community are not wearing masks, and I'm so worried about it.
No, they're not.
Think about the kids trying to go back to school. That's just heartbreaking.
It's crazy.
It's what?
My daughter's
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's going up every time. Oh, I know.
Oh, yeah.
I know. We did so well. We've been doing so well.
That's deep.
We think it's commissioner's responsibility, so you can take the blame.
I would admire you for having the courage to do the right thing.
That's one of like I said. It should be us, health department, to be.
The health department is really on it. We met with them we meet with them at least once a week, but we had a discussion about what predictive modeling. They educated us on the contact tracing program, and that's quite an eye-opener to see what they do. A lot of people just see what they post in the media or on their Facebook, social media pages, and there's so much more to that. But we can definitely be in a situation pretty easily.
But some people you can't even trace where all they've been. It's impossible. Like the fair, like the
Sure.
the Fairbanks Park. I mean, you couldn't trace it.
Young man in South Dakota. Can you imagine? Them all
Oh,
out there.
the kids at the
And the
university
tracing.
when they come back. University's going to be back. I mean, the athletes are in now. Football team, holy cow! From all
Pass backwards.
What's
Why
that?
are they having them come back in class now? Why are they not having online? Well, this is going and start.
because they don't get
Doing it
any money.
backwards. I don't.
I will say, can I say something about what I know about Rose Hallman and how they have taken care of their employees coming back to work and to work towards the students coming back? It might be a lot, and some employees might not like it, but I was impressed. They worked mostly from home in the very beginning until about June 20th something. They came back. When they did, though, they set it up. Each employee had to contact them, set up an appointment. When they went to the campus, they were met by one safety and security officer who, I think the first one was a instruction list. Then they got moved to a second one. They were given a bag, and in that bag, it had 3 masks. Two different colors, Rose Almond, whatever. Mask, a thermometer was bought for every one of them,
Wow.
every employee. Hand sanitizer and cleaning wipes. Then they went to a next one and they were given a bag that had their name in it with their swab. Then they went to the next table and they got tested and back to them. So each employee had to be tested before they came back to work the following week. They have to, every morning, before they leave their home, take their temperature, take a picture, and there's an app, and upload it to the app. And I always space it. You remember his name, Jeff, the head of safety and security? Anyway, he checks everybody's before they're allowed to come in. I mean, if there's an issue and they know, before they're allowed to come in. Just like a mask must be worn in any area they're in, unless they have their own private office. If someone walks in their office, they have to have their mask on. I mean, so they're doing what they can. Right now, they're working like 2.5 days. They went back to the office. The rest they work at home at this point. But you have to realize they're doing that for the students when they come back. They're required to all wear masks. I kind of laughed and said, how are you going to do that? Of course, I'm sure students at Rose-Hulman are there for an education, so they're not going to say a whole lot. But they are going to enforce it with some discipline if it doesn't come on, if they don't want to do it. That being said, they have a lot that come from where this initially started. They have a lot of students. But
Yeah.
I was impressed with the way that they took a
Put
hold,
it together, yeah.
put it together before they brought all their employees back. And it's the same way. Their employees have to follow those guidelines, or, there's some type of discipline. But I just wanted to say, so I don't know how ISU is doing it, but I do know that Rose-Hulman's trying to control what they can when students come back, and they've already started it. Yep. Students are
Well, can I
required to
give
do
you
it.
these numbers real quick from the Vigo County School Corporation? When they surveyed parents and caregivers, when it came to masking, you might as well say 63% were comfortable with universal masking, 54% were comfortable with staff-only masking, and 44%, which I think this is a huge number, was comfortable with no masking at all. And then when it came to learning, 54% were comfortable with hybrid in-person or remote learning, and 49%, this is super close, were comfortable with remote-only learning. So 50% of parents wanted their students to be taught at home. But in our community, that's incredibly hard because people have to go to work. So,
It is.
that's a big decision that they're going to decide. I think it's tonight, or maybe tomorrow. It's
And
tonight.
have no internet.
Well, I can tell you firsthand, as a parent of a first grader, it was absolute hell for me.
Oh, it was terrible.
Because,
my
I
wife
mean,
Because the homework was
struggled so
more than we
much.
could handle.
I don't know how they figure out math. No. But it's so
do it
hard to
differently.
do. And, I had the luxury of being able to adjust my schedule, but sitting there with her, I mean, I can't get anything done working at home. How can you have your kid who has, their bedroom and art area and places to play, expect them to sit there and do schoolwork? It was tough.
And no kids
So-
to play with, no kids to socialize with.
Well, I think there's a
Yeah.
huge difference in the way you discipline your kid at home and the way a teacher can discipline them at school. And not saying that parents don't do a good job of disciplining their kids, but it's a different
Sure.
mentality when you're at school and you have that structure.
Are yours in school yet, Chris?
First will be in second grade.
So, yeah, so I mean, you dealt with the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It was tough. Yeah,
Well,
and then-
I think the app thing would be perfect if parents would do it. But because they said symptom-based method for school exclusion with at-home screenings. So, the parents would be responsible for putting their kids in that situation.
She did at the window, stuff at the window. She doesn't know she, but know what that was. It didn't work now. And I immediately shut it down. And my daughter, her mother, she's not positive, but her boss is positive. So out of that office, there were 3 there that week. Take payment, with the community, but how do you phrase that? Kind of like here.
Well, it's by appointment, and they're supposed to be keeping logs to their seating,
We got a plan. We got a
so
plan.
that they can contact them if they have.
We got a
doing
list.
that.
Yeah, we do by appointment, so we got a list. Yes, we have an appointment list.
Probably you can't get the parents to be tempted to eat.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's
My daughter's 50.
the mask wearing and making it. We tried all day with my daughter. She was 6 last Friday. We had her wear a mask for about 4.5 hours. That's as long as she made it.
Good for you.
She couldn't make it any longer than
Those
that.
little ones are,
That's really.
And she's in second
We tried
grade.
15 minutes
so-
yesterday with Mia. That didn't work out.
those little ones are not gonna do it.
Well,
All
could you
the
imagine
teacher's
being a
gonna get done
kindergartner, or
is-
especially at Sugar Creek Consolidated, they have daycare for 5 hours a day. How hard is it going to
They
be?
don't require it under the second grade. They
You'll
don't
spend all
require
your
the
time telling them to put their
residents.
mask on.
And they isolate them just in the one classroom. They don't let them out of that classroom. But
Well,
good luck on that.
This is a good discussion to have with all of this, because this was a hardship, as I shared, but I have the luxury where I can adjust my schedule. A lot of our employees can't do that.
Exactly.
So I received numerous emails from people saying, hey, can you help us out with childcare? Can you help us do this? And this was something like, this is completely new. How do you answer a question like that? But, that's something to be aware of. This could impact our employee base come this fall.
Big time.
That if kids aren't going back to school, that's going to be a hardship on some of our employees who are parents of those children, and it could adversely affect us. So that's something maybe we should kind of prepare for. I don't know how, but just, I guess, be aware of that it will affect us.
Well, and think about the cost that could be incurred by parents that have to take their kids to daycare all day too.
Right.
Because they have to pass that cost off to somebody
Boy,
else.
is that
If it costs more than what they make, they're
big
going to
time
quit.
expensive.
All things to consider.
Yep.
Who would have ever thought we'd be in this situation?
Nope.
I think that's the reason that at least one of the reasons I wanted to get together, because to start to put some of these things out on top of the table for increased costs, that different people to, at some point we're here, not about a virus, we're here to serve the people of the county. And so what services can we conceivably provide for them?
Well, we've morphed a lot of things to online now. A lot of departments have found ways to communicate through, like permits, for example, to do that online. And that's something that a lot of us in this room talked about 2 years ago that we'd like to see done, and now it's being done and it's working.
Mm-hmm.
Feedback recently to a question, should we extend this building closure by appointment only until July 18th, was a resounding yes from all the supervisors, because they're okay with it now. It's working. There was a little, not a setback by any means, but property taxes were due July 10th. So we knew that we'd have an increase in people, but they made it work. And I think for the feedback that I've been receiving is that departments are kind of okay with this. So is this our new normal? It's hard to say, but we've definitely discovered efficiencies within county government, which from the council's perspective could attribute to cost savings.
Just think this could be a jump start to online, a lot of stuff.
Government.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I have $50,000 to rebuild our website, please?
No.
Okay,
Someone
well,
please.
we
Nice
tried.
try.
What's that?
Someone
Next.
please do it.
It's bad. Well, okay, so on the website thing, I tried it. It didn't work. We did a mapping of our website, I'll just say 3 weeks ago. It's easier to do that. I sat down with our 2 IT guys. It makes no sense. When we mapped out the website, there are so many dead ends to it. There's outdated info, and we actually had a problem where if you clicked on departments, it went to an ordinances page that was completely dead. After about 3 days, we were able to fix it. Our IT guys, extremely talented. IT is a huge world. They're not web experts. That was that shining moment where we realized we need to hire an employee dedicated to the website or contract with a good firm that can do it.
Why not? We don't have to pay them benefits.
Oh, to contract them? Yeah, I mean either or.
For the website.
Yeah, for the website.
Right.
Yeah, because
That's what I've been saying for 10 years.
well, and a lot of us have been saying that. It was a personal goal of mine, but I'll admit, I sat down and tried it. We were able to redo our page, but delving into all these other ones, it's a mess. Was it the surveyors department when we had the malware attack? They had so much information online that was valuable to the surveyors. All that disappeared. And so that's gone. But we realized how important that information was to have online. Now, having a good web designer won't take care of that issue. But right now, navigating our website, it's a waste of time. So that may be something to consider. I don't think any of us asked for that. You know, I initially thought $10,000 contract would get us where we need to be. That it's probably closer to 50,000.
Yeah, hire somebody from the city.
No, heck no.
We're not going to tell you all the secrets, Mike. Yeah. No,
Hey.
I
You
think
know what we could
contracting with
do?
the firm,
We could get our money back that the city owes us, and we could just buy a company.
they're paying us, I guess. But it's something that we need to be aware of, because as we move towards this less in-person way of conducting business, we're going to rely more on our online presence.
You know,
Well, the whole world's moving that way. No face-to-face contact through text or email. Something we could take advantage of.
take a step back to where you're talking about the public coming in by appointment and tax payments. Realize this is the only level of government where you can come in and make personal tax payment at the office. You can't walk into the Indiana Department of Revenue and pay your
No,
taxes, or
IRS.
Oh, yeah.
you can't walk
You
into
can't.
the IRS office and pay your taxes. Used to be, you have to mail it in or do it online.
Via credit card, too. Which is also crazy.
So it,
And charge people
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but
convenience fee.
$3. My Duke Energy bill, $3 convenience fee. Just because I pay it online. I might as well pay for the
Yeah, because
stamp.
they're suffering.
I had to pay one convenience fee, like $14.
Uh, Calissa or Cheryl, do we have a number of property tax payments? I mean, are we still in the low third of the state, or
We,
did we move up at all?
I checked, I believe it was Friday, and we were right about 51%.
Of total property tax collections?
It's the levied amount.
Levied
not,
amount.
Not the, not all charges, just first and second installment. We're at about 51%. When settlement was done, we were at about 38%, I believe, which was like the fifth lowest in the state.
You know, we have almost, and Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you know what I'm getting ready to say, though, almost $1 billion in exemptions. Is that right,
And
Cheryl?
exemptions or deductions?
Deductions, exemptions, taxes, for property taxes.
That sounds like a commissioner issue.
Almost $1 billion. Oh, no, I pay mine.
We moved that to the council.
Yeah.
I yield.
well, again, I think that's one of the reasons we're here, because we don't know who's not going to be able to in a position to pay their property taxes. We've got the property taxes, then we've got income down. Do we know what the level of income for the community is that's down? So, you know, this 10%, that's an estimate. I mean, at some point we're going to have to put our finger on this and say, hey, this is what we need. This is our goal. We know that financially we've budgeted well for this county, but it'll go pretty quickly when we're talking about these kinds of figures.
Sure.
So,
It's nice to hear fiscally conservative. That's good.
I've always been that way. Well, I haven't always been that way. That changed as I got older. I only have one motorcycle in the garage now.
well, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you for doing this.
Kind of like a family reunion.